Hey guys, Scott Adams here again. So we talked recently about representment and at a really high level how to avoid having to represent and thus having less chargebacks in the first place. One of the questions I get around that often is, what kind of tools are out there to use or what other things could you do to lower your chargebacks? So today I want to talk about a couple of the tools that are often confused and really are pretty confusing, even to the acquiring banks. So the two I want to talk about really are the sort of general alerts, which, the main alerts are, Verifi, CDRN, and Ethoca alerts. And then we also have RDR, or Visa's Rapid Dispute Resolution, which is also offered by Verifi. So the problem here is that these are, in a way, very different, yet they solve the same problem. So alerts, these were both built up, kind of history lesson, these were both built up before Visa and MasterCard owned these companies. They were not a collaboration with the card brands. What they were a collaboration between the respective companies and the issuing banks. So what happens with those, with the alert products, not with RDR, is that if a consumer calls in to their issuer and says, I didn't do this or whatever, and instead of pressing chargeback, the issuer can say, okay, let's send a Verifi alert or let's send an Ethoca alert. So in that case, the card network is not alerted to the situation. It does not show up on any card network reports, at least in the past. Who knows now, I guess, but how that was designed, that's what happened. And so then, you got that alert. As a merchant, you then had to do a refund. But you had to do it manually. If you didn't do it, then the issuing bank would still issue a chargeback. And so there's separate processes. Now, with RDR, that is a Visa design product, and that's a network level product. And so what happens with that, and again, this is only Visa for RDR, what happens with this is that the consumer calls in, the issuer discusses it with them, and decides that it's fraud, or that it's criminal fraud. And so then the issuer presses the chargeback button in their system. It might be their CRM, it might be V-roll. Now, once that happens, what that used to do was immediately issue a chargeback. But what it does now is basically the same. It issues that chargeback, but yet it doesn't. It still goes on the same rails. It ends up in a report called the TC15 that the acquirers get. Then that's their notice that you as a merchant got a chargeback. But with RDR, there's a flag. I believe it's an M flag, like the letter M on this file. And that signals to the acquiring bank or the processors that this is not a chargeback. It's actually an RDR transaction. And so you still have the money taken out of your account. So there is still a refund. But as the merchant, you don't physically issue it. This is taken out of your account by your acquirer, just like a chargeback would have been. Now that's where the confusion happens. So, people have asked, well, so I got a RDR, do I need to do a refund? Well, no. Does it count against me as a chargeback? It's not supposed to. But the problem is, because this is flowing through the old rails, the old system, acquirers, processors, ISOs, all the different people involved with the reporting of this, they have to make changes to their system to recognize this M flag. And in most cases, or at least a lot of cases, this might happen at one level, but then the next level down, like if it's a processor versus an acquirer or something, or like a gateway, they never get that notification. So they see a chargeback, they don't realize it's RDR. And so you have to track this stuff really carefully. Now, another distinction that I think is really important too is, there's multiple programs out there, right? There's Visa, VDMP for disputes, and there's VFMP for monitoring fraud. Now, remember from other videos or discussions, or if you've seen me speak live, the fraud program monitors transactions that are flagged as fraud. Those do not have to be chargebacks, but they could be. It's up to the issuing bank. And so in this case, if it's RDR, now RDR does not prevent you from being flagged for fraud. All it does is prevent you from being flagged for the chargeback, the dispute program. So that's one distinction. Whereas alerts, If you're in the fraud program, alerts have a better chance of lowering that for you. They will. So just remember, so with RDR, if it's a chargeback that is a fraud coded chargeback, that will count on the that would not count on the fraud program if it's RDR. But what if there's transactions that were not charged back and yet were flagged for fraud? Those can still count. Whereas if this is an alert, it's not guaranteed, but a lot more of the time, both the fraud flag and the chargeback are avoided. And I've had good luck with clients that are in these programs getting out using the alert systems and RDR in combination in general. But you have to remember that because the rails are different for these things, and one is network level, one's not, and the alerts are pre-network, that's kind of how it ends up working. So I hope that helps. That's a lot more information around those categories of products. The coming days we'll have some more around other products in there, and also some ideas that are not products on how to lower your fraud too and your chargebacks. So thanks a lot.